the population we are rising, the
Hmm.
level we are rising all over the world. So there
Right.
has to be a development, and there is no further land anymore. Like you have to cut down the forest. So what is your take on that first?
Mm, like back in the days when like in many tribal cultures practice this thing where they would, like the Naga tribes would cut down the trees, and in place of, so they had this very so I recently got to know about it when I visited the IGRMS museum in Bhopal. So it's a tribal museum, and the wood from which the house is, like the pillars of the house are carved, for that main pillar to be cut down, and they always take the entire tree, right? So for the main pillar to be cut down, the guy who's gonna build the house, for him a dream needs to come, right, of that particular tree, right? Only then he can cut, right? So there's a tradition in that entire tribe, and maybe they are connected some way in the spiritual realm, and that's why the cycle of dreams keep on happening, and it's quite common with the indigenous culture and dreams to be, quite connected. Uh, so when they cut that tree down, when the dream happens, when they cut that tree down, they what they do is they plant four more seeds of the tree. So I don't mind if you're building buildings, people have to stay somewhere, and I understand that. But when you're building a building, are you also, you know, creating space for nature to grow? And I'm not against building buildings. I mean, I'm working in a, not I'm studying in a design college. It's a architecture and design college. I'd be mad to say I don't, yeah, don't build buildings. I'm just saying build them better. At the same time, build them mindfully. I live in the city of Ahmedabad, and there is so less areas of uh, for children to play, children to interact with the world. Like, these days, the solution is, phone, right? Even a toddler can just operate this phone. But if you provide these kids with like actual spaces, they create these spaces for elderly people and for kids, you can sort of create a sort of a community within the city limits, right? There is absence of these spaces. Very, like, I have roamed around the entire city trying to find a place where kids can hang out. Where do kids hang out? They hang out in schools, they hang out in outside tuitions, they hang out at each other's homes. But, you know, where is that community space? So it's the thing that comes from just acquiring land and building 24 stories, right? And half of them are empty. So you are just creating this big, whatever you call it, this big thing on the face of Earth, which is almost vacant, which the space could have been utilized much better in many different ways. And the structure that you are building is concrete, right? There is not a shred of plant on it, right? I'm like, okay, there is brutalism. Brutalism is this, you know, brutalistic structures. Like there's, uh, have you seen, everything is brutalistic. Like you see Surat, it's all brutalistic. You see Ahmedabad, it's all brutalistic, right? But there's something called eco-brutalism where these concrete structures can be combined with plants and, gardens which are hanging, or it could be designed in such a way. But majority thing is it's just buildings and buildings and create space. Why do they want to create space? Because they want to bring more people in, right? So it's expansion without regulation. We can't complain because who would you blame? Because the people you want to blame will blame each other. So it's nobody's fault. It's ours, every one of us.